Good morning. Welcome to episode.
I just saw Lena's hand shoot to your volume. Did he shout really loud for you then? He checked the levels and then yelled.
Good morning.
No. Try
Good
again.
morning. Welcome to episode 80. It's the big 80,
I
Adam.
know. We've done
Unbelievable.
We've done this 80 times.
80 times.
Yeah.
As Lena's volume stopped ringing.
That's all right. She's equalising now. You literally
I am
tested.
the equaliser.
Yeah, your second shout was better.
It was. I backed away.
Yeah, we call that microphone etiquette.
Yes, and I'm really sorry. I'm sorry.
The microphone.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I've got some news.
Go.
That is the cinema thing, not the news.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, it was close. Yeah. So on the news this morning, coming in, there was a report about higher incidences of scams using QR codes. What did I say in the episode about scanning QR codes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the cybersecurity
You
thing.
said the cybersecurity. Be
And I'm
very
going,
aware.
Be very aware, because you can't see. You just see the block of pixels.
You scan it, you assume.
Yep. So people are going around sticking their own QR code on top of somebody else's QR code.
Isn't this the car parking?
Oh, they're on car parks, banking details, all sorts. Yep.
Quiet, you're not here.
Yeah, the guest isn't here.
The guest isn't here.
I'm glad you've heard of it. So I said in the cybersecurity episode, be careful what you're doing. Come in, I think it was the report in 2022, there was like 400 instances, I think is what they said. They then said last year, 1,400.
Oh my goodness
people.
me.
Like, obviously it's raising awareness. It depends how many people, and if people might go, well, in the scale of things, in the scale of the country, and this, that, and the other, that's not a high proportion. However, there's probably not a high proportion of people doing it. Don't just scan a QR code unless you know where you're going to.
Absolutely. And look, and be careful. And when you scan the QR code, it does actually tell you where it's going to go, and then be just.
I called it.
You called it.
I called it.
Absolutely.
So there we go.
Very good.
It made me go, I feel bad for those people.
No,
but it
no,
also
absolutely.
made me go, I knew it. I knew it.
Absolutely.
So
anyway, we've got a guest.
We have got a guest.
Now we've got a guest. Now I can introduce him. Hello. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Dan, and I'm from Facility 6.
Facility 6 in the building.
Facility 6 upstairs on your floor. Is this
On my floor.
floor 3 versus floor
Floor
1
3,
situation?
one of my lovely customers. So, for our listeners, young Mr. Dan, what does Facility 6 do?
So, Facility 6 is a facilities management company. We started off as an electrical company at first, and we branched out in 2018, and we went in the facilities management sector.
I didn't know that bit. I knew you're electrical.
Yep.
Hence, it kind of links and makes sense with the name.
It does make sense. Facility 6, yeah, exactly.
Why the 6 though?
Yeah.
Why the 6?
So the 6 was initially myself, my partner, and my daughter.
Yeah.
My business partner, his wife, and his daughter.
Hey!
But I've now got 5 kids. He's got another one. So it's
You are effectively Facility 12.
pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. So
I like that. That's a good
I
story
didn't
though.
change the name, to be honest, but it's too much
Hey,
hassle.
no, that's nice. I like that. Facility
So,
6.
Yeah, it was facilities
like
for
that.
facilities management, and the 6 come from the 6 at the time.
Well,
Okay.
there you go.
I have questions because I've seen you around, obviously.
Of course.
Seen you at events and seen the vans.
Yeah.
What I like about your guys is the branding.
Oh, gosh. Oh, look. Branding
sticks
today.
out. Yeah, it's wearing it today.
that
Really vibrant, really stands out from the crowd.
It's all about the branding.
It is all about the branding. Well played.
Yeah.
So my first question, facility. So did you start as electrical and then took on the facilities? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that journey? I'm interested to know.
So my journey is in 2012. I set up on my own as a sole trader.
Yep.
Set up as Carey Electrical Services. And then James at the same time, well, just after me, he set up his own company as well. But prior to that, we were working together in employment. Employment.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So once we went our separate ways, we found ourselves constantly working together as a team. And then over the years, up until 2015, we then merged as one company,
Yep.
and we set up Carey and Logan Electrical Contractors Limited.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then once we'd established that the partnership was going good,
Yeah.
in 2018 we started working for a company called Mighty, like a national company called
we know
Mighty.
them, yeah.
And we started working for them on some electrical schemes, and they asked us basically, can you offer any other services? And at first we were like, oh, no, we can't.
No, we can't.
So we're just electricians. We've got 4 or 5 electricians on board. This is all we do. And then I went home that night and I thought, I think I've just missed a trick. I've just been offered multiple doors to be opened into different sectors. And so I rang them back up the next morning. I said, what exactly do you need from me? In work-wise? And so it was like more like internal renovations, commercial bathroom refits, front of house restorations in like banks and stuff like this. So I thought, all right, okay. So I spoke with a lot of tradesmen that I always work with anyways, and I trust, and we changed the branding to the Facility 6 side.
Don't you just love this? I mean, how a business evolves.
There's a couple of things to tie into. So we're big on, like, in small business, you need to find people that you can trust. Trusted partners.
Absolutely.
So the way we both work is about trusted partner. As we're the marketing trusted partner for people, because actually it is about a partnership. You want to work together in order to, it's in my best interest to support the client.
Absolutely.
Equally, it's in their best interest to support us, because it's a two-way street, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to do that in order to work effectively with each other. But obviously, you had James there.
Yeah.
Trusted partner straight away. So I'm like, that tick that box. Yeah. And then obviously you can.
And I always remember one builder we used to work for, because when we first started off, we just started working for like general builders. And I always remember one, and he said, it won't work. Partnerships don't work.
So that's spurred
and
you on.
I understand that, and some partnerships don't work, but obviously we just ground down, knuckled down, and it worked.
Yeah. However, I do have to say, I do know James. How the hell have you managed to work with him for so long?
I think he's a very nice chap when I see him in the corridors and things.
Not the good news is James will never listen to this.
Is that why you're both always leaving?
No, it really sounds like a great partnership, and obviously
It's a really good partnership, and we understand each other. We've both got our strengths and weaknesses, and we adapt to each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Dan, that's the way that it is, and certainly everybody says don't work in partnerships, don't work in family. Obviously, resilience, a family-run business, but you just make it work. You all understand, you all get it, and I certainly say from Michelle and Dan's point of view that we could have an absolute barn in the office, but when I walk out the door, they're my family again. I'm like, it's fine, move on. Same with
business
you and James.
Business.
Business is business, my friend. So that's really good in terms of what you do, and I think you've expanded even more now, don't you? You were telling me off electrical, solar energy now.
Yeah, so we've just I've been involved in solar since 2012,
right?
Doing installs. But then once that sort of died off, it started picking up again like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then we jumped back into the sector. We offer solar PV and battery storage now. So we're doing 3 or 4 installs a week. Yeah.
So I'm looking on here because it also says on the maintenance work on the website.
Lovely website.
Facility6.com, people.
Lovely website.
Flooring works, ceiling works, leaks. I mean, you're crossing multiple areas. So how do you sort of manage that as a business? What's your structure?
Structure is having really good subcontractors and a good team on board as well within the company. Because if you don't have that, it's not going to work.
I can imagine in your line of work, you come in for one thing and it's like thin end of the wedge in terms of. So I came across your team because they did the LED light upgrade in the building. That's
correct. Yeah.
Great guys, by the way. They were fantastic. They
are.
were very. What I liked about it, very aware to minimising disruption for us.
Yeah.
Equally, really friendly.
Yeah.
Really, it was a nice experience, and all they were doing was changing. It was. Did they change? They changed the full light fitting, didn't they? I'm looking at them in here because they got done in every office in the building and upgraded. From my point of view, I'm like, these are much better. Because before, it was like a triangle of yellow light coming down when you're working with cameras and things like this. This nice even light with the LEDs in there.
That's it.
Brilliant. And it's a better colour temperature, i.e. not yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me really happy. But working with the team, it was great.
Yeah.
In terms of, very approachable, obviously.
They are.
They're going into, especially here, I can imagine trying to go into lots of different workplaces. People have got different requirements and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, we've got to minimise that disruption within the company.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it was great in terms of how they conducted themselves. So, on that, obviously you've touched on solar PV. What are the other electrical things that you do then? What sort of areas that you work on?
Everything.
Yeah, no, it's everything. I know it's
Pretty
everything,
much
but
everything.
let's go for it.
So, again, what you've just touched on is like the LED lighting. So, commercial-wise, we can offer to go into a business. We can look at all their bills, what they're paying on an average over the year.
Yeah.
And once we can do a calculation with the fittings that we're going to install or potentially install, and we can give them a breakdown of how much they're going to save percentage per year by just installing, and then the offset of how long that payback period is going to be for the install.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work with electrical-wise with Teesside Airport.
Oh,
It's quite important to get the right that one.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we've just started working with them over the last 2 years. So
Wow.
we do a lot of works up there.
And Teesside Airport is
electrically.
expanding massively, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
now,
really
now
is.
flying to Malaga, I believe. That was announced the other week.
Is it? Right, I'm off then. See you later,
see
guys.
you later. Yeah.
I'm off to Malaga.
Brilliant. We need to go.
But yeah, electrically wise, we do everything from domestics to commercial to industrial sites. It's there's such a lot of installs you can do across them sites, from machinery or just to simple lighting installs or like office refurbs where we're putting in surface trunk-ins with sockets and data points. And
Okay, I've got a question, because I was chatting to you a few weeks ago, Dan, and you were, I won't say you were under duress, but obviously there's a lot of, shall I say, what's the word I'm thinking of? There's a lot of things that you've got to do certified-wise in terms of that. You were on site, that. So how has, in terms of when you first started the business to now, how has the law, the legislation, the amount of, not hoops you want to jump through, I don't want to say that, but obviously it is important, isn't it?
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
do that. So how has that changed over the years?
so the laws and the legislations, they change quite frequently, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we've got to abide by a regulation book called BS 7671.
That just rolled off the tongue, didn't it?
Make it really
But they have like different editions. So currently we're on the 18th edition, third amendment.
Yeah.
And the 19th edition's about to come out.
Oh, my goodness.
This is why I don't mess around with, other than computers, I don't mess around with electrics.
So like it'll just be, they'll change a number of items in special locations, such as like bathrooms or swimming pools and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Just generally, if someone's had an accident in a certain area, they've got to amend something on that particular scope.
Which makes sense, I suppose.
It does, but how do you keep on top of all of that? Obviously, your lads are on the site, and you're going, whoa, stop! You need to do this now.
Just what do you mean? Like with the regulations?
Yeah, with the regulations.
Just training.
So it is just
You've
training.
got to maintain that level of training at all times. Yeah.
So again,
when an amendment does come out, the lads are doing it. They're sat in front of the PCs and they are doing it.
And they're doing that due diligence and doing
absolutely,
that training.
Yeah.
Do you have to retrofit anything in terms of obviously you've done a LED or whatever it is today. 6 months down the line, the amendment changes and goes, you've now got to do this. Do you have to retrofit that? Do you have to go back?
No,
No,
because at that time
it was legal.
That was legal to do
Right,
that.
okay.
And it fits in with the regulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, wow, it's just...
So I don't want to get into the nitty gritty on this because I once tried to, a couple of things, my DIY home experience, I once tried to anchor a bookcase to my wall before I was going out to a meeting. I thought, I'll just do it quickly. It's when the kids were arriving, like when we were expecting the kids.
Yeah.
So I quickly pulled the drill out and water came out the wall like I turned a tap on. So it turns out in the house that I lived in at the time, they put all the pipes in the corners. Look that up first. Is a good thing. I literally, if you'd handed me a pipe and said, "Can you drill that perfectly?" I'd managed to do that blind through the wall.
Well done.
Yeah.
So I managed to get the drill bit back in with a dishcloth on the end. I managed to kind of stem it. And at that point, I was like, electrics I'm never touching because I shouldn't. Because God knows I'd be dead probably. But also even just trying to anchor a bookcase to the wall. Like, it's really important to get that right, but then also doing it. So my question to you is, I bet you deal with so many people who've gone, I wired it up. yeah. I've wired it up myself. Give it. How many bad examples have you got in this job where you might be going in older properties where those legal standards didn't exist.
Absolutely.
So there could be the professionals that were doing it to the standard back in the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, I bet some of your rewiring. Do you have to rewire a lot of old? I struggle to say rewire. By the way, do you struggle to when you're rewiring old properties?
Yeah.
I bet you see.
Oh, we come across all kinds.
Everything. Go on, take us through some of the examples.
Especially when you're lifting floorboards, because you never know what you're going to find under a floorboard.
Yeah.
The socket on the wall is just a socket on the wall, but you don't know how that cable's got there.
Yeah.
So you could have a junction box with maybe 6 cables coming out of it, and it's feeding one socket, it's going up to the lights, and it's going off to a shower or anything like that.
So why does that matter to us uneducated people who drill through their own central heating systems?
So we've got to abide by the regulations again. Is we can't just spur off sockets here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
That socket circuit is dedicated for a socket circuit. A shower circuit is dedicated for a shower circuit, and all them factors of like cable calculations and your MCBs have got to be a certain size to be able to carry the current on that particular cable. You've got to.
So what happens if you exceed the capability? What's the risk there to people?
Well, electrocution.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's also for personal protection for the person. They've got to be 100% safe within the home, anyways.
Yeah.
And the other one is the cables. So if you're doing your own cabling and you don't know what you're doing,
I don't do my own cabling. No chance.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah. I'm positive. I'm not doing it. The central heating was enough.
So once you start putting in cables, say they're too small, and you put it to a shower and you haven't got the correct MCB in it, that cable's just going to melt and potentially set a fire.
And that's why they say don't mess with electricity.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because I think a few other things. This is kind of I'm kind of wanting to get to a bit normal, like people level in terms of.
Yeah.
So what you see is we've got a few things plugged in here. We've got an extension cord that runs off this plug socket here.
Yeah.
We've got a plug socket there that runs there, not daisy chaining.
I see this
another
all,
extension.
I see this all the time.
So basically, I was doing my pat testing. We needed an extra plug, and we plugged something in down there. And he was like, "You should put that on a separate, separate thing."
Yeah.
Done for the record. Everyone looking around. And there's also a junction multi-plug next to a leaner on the other side of the desk there.
Yeah.
Why? How important is that? Let's just do that, because that is probably the thing you see the most in people's homes.
We see this all the time.
I've got an extension. Things are plugged in, right?
Yeah.
But it's when you then plug in an extension to
an extension. Yeah. 5 is the maximum I've ever seen. An 8-port plug with 5 other 4-port extensions. And
So
I'm just like,
I've seen
no.
it time and time again.
Oh.
Especially in older properties when they only used to have one socket in the bedroom.
Yes.
So they've got a trailing leads all the way around the bedroom, 12 four corners. I've seen that.
So why is that a problem? Because
It's a fire risk.
is it heat? Does the
Fire risk.
system generate heat?
It can do, because you're overloading each one.
Yeah.
Each
okay.
extension
So it's
lead. Although
drawing
they're
power
only rated
through.
to 13 amps. You only
Yeah.
get 13 amps through it, but it's just causing an issue. You're causing major problems down the line.
I think one of the problems I get is that when we've seen this, where I was seeing the 5 extensions, again, I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And the sad thing is what people do is they're like, Andy, it's been like that for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know. And you've been lucky for the last 5 years. I'm sorry, I am not working with that in terms of change it now. And I get called all kinds of names, and I'm just like, but the word risk is there. It's fine that it's not happened for the last 5 years, but I said the minute it does, you can tell me, well, you're the last person that plugged the computer in, and then it's set on fire. And I'm like, no, I'm not touching it. But people just do it, don't they?
They do. They do, out of habit more than anything.
Out of habit.
And learned behaviour.
Yeah, exactly. We need to get away from. I think it's important just to kind of. That's a simple level of electrics.
Interestingly, we've got our. I was just saying to Dan off air. I live in a fairly old house.
Yeah.
We've got a utility room that runs 2 fridges. It runs the washing machine. It runs the tumble dryer, and then I believe it's spurred off into the garage. Like you were saying, somebody has just spurred it off. And then...
He's smiling.
No, it's spurred it. What we found out the other day, and luckily it tripped everything, is that when Michelle has the tumble dryer and the washing machine in, and I attempt to charge my car, it trips everything. And it just turns off.
Yeah.
And we just go, why is it doing that? And then we suddenly dawn in moment going, I'm charging the car. Hang on. I'll uncharge the car, turn it off. Everything's working fine. I turn it back on. It trips.
Yeah.
And again, you're like, I'm overloading the system. Stop.
Yeah.
But that's the other bit I wanted to come on. Everybody's got this junction box in the house where it says it trips the lights. What is that? What triggers that trip?
So there's a number of faults you can potentially have. Like one that you're having there is overloading.
Yeah.
So that EV charger should be on its own dedicated circuit again.
Yeah, which it won't because of the age of the house.
Probably not, and depending on who's installed it.
Yeah.
You need to speak to Dan.
I do need to speak to Dan.
Yeah, you do.
Sadly, I want it for free though.
Nothing changes.
And then other reasons, it could be a dead short between live and neutral, could be like a rat chewed through a cable. So again, that'll trip out an MCB. And the other one will be an earth fault, which will trip an RCD if you've got that within the fuse boiler.
Yeah, right. So they are there to protect us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and protect the circuit.
Yeah.
So before that, would that
Yeah.
be things overheating and bursting into flames? If you didn't have that in a house? Possibly.
Yeah, it can do.
Can do.
It can,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
again,
if you haven't got the correct protection and the
Yeah.
correct cables on that circuit to carry that current,
Yeah.
then yeah, you've got a fire risk.
And again, I've actually seen it in somebody's house where you're just with them or whatever, like what you're doing there, and it constantly trips, so I tape the switch down.
Yeah, I've seen that thing so many times.
Why have you?
I've seen them wedged up with little bits of like nails.
Yeah.
I've seen them wedged up with nails.
And I'm just like, what are people
So
doing?
those
They're
circuits
crazy.
are like your seatbelt, aren't they?
Oh.
In a car type thing.
Yeah.
They
Like
are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like a little safety
Taped up,
mechanism.
nailed up.
Do you remember the rewirable fuses?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
you
do.
poked a bit of cable through, don't you? Tie it
Yeah.
down. So I've seen then when they put nails in between them as well. Like a 6-inch nail to put it down.
I wouldn't have the guts to do it.
I
I'm
wouldn't,
terrified
no.
about electrocuting myself, implementing the thing in the
Absolutely.
first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I can't
The other thing that I was saying to I'm saying it's a long time ago, but the other thing that I said, if and when you have a fire, same argument, Andy, it's been like that for years, fine.
Yeah.
If and when you have a fire, the insurance people will come along, and if they find that, they will go, nah, not paying out.
Absolutely.
It's your risk, your fault. And I'm just like, why would you? It's been like that for ages, Andy. It's fine. No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. As you said, Adam, I wouldn't have the guts to do it. I just
I'm
literally
scared
would
of
go,
it.
no.
Technically, what people should be doing, it's not really out there a lot, is periodic inspections. Well, they're called EICRs now. So electrical installation condition reports. So the likes of myself would come into the property and we'd do a full inspection of the property, couple of switches, couple of sockets off. We'd do all the dead tests, do the live tests, and that would bring up all the faults, or if there is any faults,
Of course.
on the condition of the cables, condition of the system, and what requirements we need to install to bring it up to standards.
Yeah.
And that'd be...
I suppose
that-
part of
that-
the problem is people go, well, if I don't do that, I don't see the issue. And we don't have to
This is
fix
it.
I can't see any problem.
It's like out of sight, out of mind situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
But until you have this EICR report done,
Yeah.
then you don't know.
No.
I have a pretty good
System.
feeling that I know what mine would say.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rip everything out.
Fail.
Yeah.
Rip everything out.
I've already
So-
been said that. I've had somebody around to this
think
old
it
house, and it was just like it needs a complete rewire. But it would
Not because
talking.
anything dangerous.
No,
is
no, no,
necessarily
no,
happening,
because
by the way, like I'm not.
As you mentioned, back then the regulations were not as strict or not as tight. So but it said it would cost you thousands to rip everything up and rewire. I'm like, I can't do it. I am not going to do it.
So, what is the life of? Sorry, I know we're getting niche into electric.
This is
but I've got
great,
So
though,
many
yeah.
questions
That's
about
all right.
it.
Go for
And
it.
I think the thing is, I said to Andy because he was like, "I'm doing a networking job, blah blah blah. Someone's coming in, and it works really well."
Yeah.
it was the Bubbles.
It was.
job that you did. So they were having an issue with the kiosk, the tablet ordering system, and this that, and the other. Andy went in and sorted out the Wi-Fi.
Great food in there, by the way.
Great food in there.
It is, isn't
have
it?
you had a naan which?
No, I haven't.
Breakfast. It's a breakfast.
It's
item.
unbelievable.
When we were in there filming the case study. They went, "Do you want a breakfast nandwich?" I was like, "Oh, I'm never going to say no to that."
Absolutely.
That sounds amazing.
It's exactly as you imagine it, and that doesn't sell it short because it was incredible.
I didn't eat for the rest of the day, by the way.
No, I didn't either. So you sorted out the Wi-Fi and stuff like that, and people don't see that Resilient have been there. The problem
We're in the walls.
He's in the walls or in the air, you know. And I imagine with electrics, you're very
Exactly
much the
the
same,
same,
right?
yeah, exactly.
People walk in, they've commented on the lighting. Oh, I like the lights in here; they're good.
Yeah.
It's not like done by Facility 6.
No,
you know,
I need to get some stickers for
You
each
do
one.
every single light. Facility 6, Facility 6.
but it's like, you know, and I think that's the problem with electrics in general is unless someone's daisy chaining a ridiculous number of cables around, which you shouldn't be doing, they don't see it and probably shouldn't see it because obviously safety and this and the other.
Yeah.
So I can only begin to imagine. So you're going into an old house, right?
Yeah.
And all of it is plastered in. What are you doing to rewire it? Do you have to dig all the plaster,
Absolutely.
make an absolute mess,
Yeah.
to then fix it all,
Yeah.
to put it
To
back
then-
in?
Yeah.
And what sort of systems are you seeing there that are different to the modern day systems, I suppose? Like,
Well, the systems are technically the same. Like lights are lights, lighting circuits are lighting circuits,
yep,
socket circuits. The only thing that's different is back then, no one really cared about which way the cables went.
No.
Or anything
I
like
care.
that. Yeah.
now that you say that, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're governed into where we can actually install cables, like around the home. So
Is it in the
within-
corner by any chance?
we've got all around the top edge side, and we're only allowed vertically or horizontally towards like within an appliance, like a socket or a switch.
Yeah.
We can't go diagonal or anything like that.
So in some houses they could be running like
Yeah,
my
old
house.
school houses.
I've seen it.
Old school houses,
Absolutely.
I've seen them go.
So I'm
45
wrongly
degrees
assuming
off.
that my electrical cables potentially come straight down to.
Yeah.
You will never know, my
never
friend.
assume.
Hence when the guy...
Never assumed to
No.
me, yeah, because it makes an ass out of you and me.
But when the electrician said that, he was like, it will literally cost you thousands. And the key is what he said, Dan, is exactly what you just said. Not to replace the sockets. He said it's actually the work, ripping out everything, finding it, looking where he's gone. You're ripping up the floorboards going, where's he gone? And you're right. When we did have a leak about 5 years ago, a water leak, we had to rip up the floorboards and the cables are going it was spaghetti junction. And you know when you just go, I'm just going to put that floorboard back and I'm going to go, nothing to do with me, that
So
one.
it's like looking under your desk upstairs then, Andy. Yeah? No,
Go
okay.
The other thing that I want to speak about is, again, in terms of regulation. So I got two stories. Living in my mum and dad's house, probably about 12-year-old, I was asked to replace the light bulb underneath the stairs. Now, in the early days, as I definitely bloody remember, the light bulbs had the two prongs sticking out, didn't they?
Correct, yeah.
And you had to push the two prongs in to make it and twist it to lock it in.
yeah.
And me, as a stupid 12-year-old, I went, what's the prongs for? And I literally pressed them.
Yeah,
And I
that hurts.
flew across the floor.
That hurts.
Oh my goodness me, did that hurt.
Yeah.
And I will never ever do again. And I went, why did that? But obviously, as you depress it,
Curiosity killed the cat, right?
Curiosity killed Andy, nearly. And the other story is that a very similar one to you, my friend, is that a friend of ours was helping my mum and dad anchor something to the wall, electric drill. He drilled straight through an electric cable.
Yeah.
And again, what I was amazed at that time when I saw it, even though God bless my friend, I'm thankful he's alive, the power that he flew. I mean, the bang and the electricity made this guy, and he wasn't a small guy, he leapt across. And I'm like, that was the power of electricity.
Oh,
As he made that hit, he was like, boom. Everything went dark, but I just saw him in slow motion fly across the room.
Don't
And I'm like,
underestimate it.
that is unbelievable. And that just proves how dangerous electricity is, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't see it, you can't smell it. You know, like gas, you can smell it.
Yeah. True.
It's honestly,
Can't
man.
see it,
So
can't smell
I've got one actually that I completely forgot about. So we're decorating my friend's house. They'd just moved into a house. It was an older property. They've done loads to it now. It looks amazing. And we had the steamers on the go. You can see where this is going on.
yeah.
And it was like
Taking the
steaming the
wallpaper,
wallpaper off and like scraping it. And basically every time I was touching any part of the wall, I seemed to be getting a mild, very mild
Yeah.
tingling sensation. It's not,
I've seen this done tons of times.
have you? Right, yeah. And I was like, I think your entire wall is currently live.
Yeah, that's correct.
How was that? Because I'm like, plaster? I understand the steam and water is a conductor, so maybe it was just running through that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the entire wall went live on us.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Wow.
we should probably stop.
I've seen this from the same scenario, and I've seen it from plasterers as well.
Okay.
So some plasterers will pull the socket fronts off so they can so they're not skimming up to them.
Yeah.
So pull them off, they'll PVA the wall, they'll start skimming, and then a bit of plaster's just dripped onto a live conductor, and then the full wall's live.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would be like, I didn't think plaster could
Yeah.
conduct
It's
electricity.
just the moisture in it, yeah.
Is it?
And
Oh,
then
of course,
Anything
right.
with water.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically his entire living room walls became
Live.
Okay, the
electrified.
conductor,
Yeah. I was like, I'm getting constantly. It's like, zzzz. You're
it's
like
not
doing
nice,
it.
is it?
You're like, I think no, it isn't nice at all. It's
No,
like,
it's
my
not.
teeth are itching. Is
Yeah.
how I'd describe it. It's like,
But I think the thing is what Dan said, you can't smell it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
I have always had a very healthy respect for electricity
was just
because I
about
know
to
what
say
that
this.
it can do. I know how far I flew across the bloody wall.
Yeah.
And when I was like, "Wah!" then I think for about a whole hour afterwards, I'm like, I just can't feel my arm.
Yeah.
You know, and
It could
obviously,
do proper damage.
do you know in the days when your mum and dad were really, really sympathetic? I told her what I'd done. What's the first thing that she did? I'm like,
gonna say,
my
I
arm
can't-
and my head hurt.
I can't remember those days.
But no, you have got to respect it, otherwise it will bite.
Yeah.
And again, in terms of the training that your guys go through, Dan, again, that must be a healthy part of it, going respect,
Absolutely.
and understand.
And I think
Yeah,
they've probably
and-
turned the power off, which is what we
And
should have done.
I was just about to say, never work live.
No, you never do you? There's
Isolate, lock off, and then keep the key, and then no one's turning it back on unless.
and
it's yourself.
certainly from what you were saying, though, Dan, when you're working on these larger places, what you've just said there, turn it off, take the key and going, I don't care. That must be massive because you can imagine in massive places, somebody's who's turned that off? Click.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got to literally isolate and go, I'm sorry, nobody's working on that.
Especially if you put a post-it on saying, do not touch, and then Andy walks in.
Yeah, I'll be like, why not?
Cool, right. Well, that's some general stuff around the one that I wanted to, because I was
Really,
I forgot
really,
about
really good.
being electrocuted through the wall.
Bringing back some memories.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, some
I noticed
trauma.
while you were twitching.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I can feel it now with that feeling. It wasn't great. What are some of the most interesting projects that you got to work
Yeah.
on then? What sort of examples have you got in the back pocket that you can share?
Some good projects.
Yeah, so what sort of what
They're all
sort of
very
things are you,
stressful.
what sort of things
Like
are you
Teesside
doing
Airport,
and
have you done
things
some
like
massive stuff on there?
Yeah, we've done some big commercial refits on the fire station in there. We've just finished
really?
one on that one.
Wow.
That was good. That was we were converting the male and female change and the swapping. Basically, we swapped a load of rooms around, like the male and females. Change, we renovated them from top to bottom. New kitchen, everything from the top to the bottom, flooring, everything. That's quite a good one.
Sorry, apologies for interrupting. What you were saying there, you're facilitating everything. Once you get into a building, because, using your term, Adam, trusted partner, the people that have got you in, Dan, they must go, do you know what, can you just handle everything, please?
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies, especially places like that, want a one-stop shop.
Yes.
They've got a manager. They just want to ring me. Can you do this project, or can you not?
Yeah.
And if I can do it, I'll do it. If not,
100%, Dan.
I'll be honest. I'll say, look, that's not down my street. I can't do that, but I will find someone for you.
Of course.
But yeah, just a one-stop shop. Everyone seems to like that now.
And have you,
It's
and we
easy.
certainly find that from an IT point of view, you've certainly done that, Adam, with your photography, with your videography, with your drones and everything like that. Do you find, Dan, over the last couple of years, you have expanded your services even more? Because, like Resilient, somebody's asked me about broadband, for example.
Yeah.
I've offloaded it, and then I've gone, I'm missing a trick there.
Yeah.
If I get involved, then, again, the customer only has one person to talk
Absolutely.
to. So you've expanded in terms of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've come to learn that you've got to expand, otherwise that potential client's going to go elsewhere,
Yeah, exactly.
and you don't want them to do that.
No. And it isn't about like, oh, well, I can make a quick buck or I can... It's about caring and going, listen, I can do the whole thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's really good in terms of that.
Keeping your client happy, I think that's one of the main things in business.
Unfortunately, I know a lot of businesses, and that's none of my customers and stuff like that, but not bothered.
No.
I turn up at 9, I'll leave at 5, so what? Whereas I think with smaller businesses, and with the greatest of respect to Facility 6 and Resilient and Hubspoke, I think having a smaller team, everybody does actually care. They want to care.
Yeah, I think they've got that personal touch.
Yeah.
Rather than these humongous companies where they're just in and out.
And that's what I'm saying. It is the larger companies where they're just like, listen, I'm a cog, a very small cog. I turn up at 9, I'll leave at 5. Nobody cares about me. I don't care about them. That's totally different in small businesses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find.
Yeah, good.
So, kitchen fit out.
Right.
Love that. The whole lot, the whole shebang.
The whole lot.
I think that's brilliant.
Oh, exactly.
I wanted to come up with a strap line which was like grounded.
No. No, just
grounded
stop.
in electrical, and then something about the maintenance. I was like, that'd be quite grounded. I don't know.
No, stop now. Just get on with the question.
Okay, I'm going to go live with. No. Anyway, but yeah, so you've done fit outs. So that is quite a big project that you talked about, the Teesside one.
Yeah, that was quite a big. And then we're currently pricing another one up there, and I think that's in about the region of £250,000 job. That one.
Big project.
That's a big project, yeah.
Yeah. And are you combining, like, if the project allows, are you looking at, like, the solar, the battery storage, EV charging points, all of those sort of opportunities to put things in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they know exactly what services we offer.
Yeah.
And, if they do want that, then we
can do
certainly offer them it,
Yeah.
Question that I've got is the majority of the work northeast based, or I know some of the lads, they've been telling me like it's a 4-hour journey to get to where it is.
So we predominantly are northeast,
but
in construction you've got to go where the work is.
Yeah,
it's not always on your doorstep, So if we are required to go to London, we go.
Yeah.
But it's 9 times out of 10 that we're in the northeast between sort of Leeds and far end of Newcastle.
Yeah. I know one of the lads, he was saying it was I think it might have been the London job, and he was like, it's a long weekend. But as you quite rightly said, you'd be silly not to do that. You don't... I always think this is the same. When somebody offers you a job or offers you something and it's like down in London, you're always like... But it's like, no, I'll go because it expands your name. Absolutely. And you can say, no, we do.
I had a job a few years ago.
You did, didn't you?
And it was going around various farms, interviewing the farmers, taking photographs for... It was a company called Keenan that do feed wagons for cattle.
Okay. How far north did you go?
I went Peterhead, north of Aberdeen, all the way down to Devon.
Yeah.
In the space of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had a great time. It was fantastic. You'd like the journey itself though would like repeat itself. So you'd get to the farm, and there'd be a farmer who's extremely busy trying to deal with multiple things at once. You're like, hi, I'm the guy with the camera.
Yeah.
And it like you'd then have to like win them over and do that. But that was a great trip. But being on the road, obviously, it comes with its own. I remember once we had to juggle the farms around. So I was coming up from Devon. I was working. I had a farm, middle of Wales, and then North Wales. So I was going to do that on the journey. But the middle of Wales, when we've got to do something in the morning, I can't be there. So I had to go from Devon to North Wales to drive back to the middle of Wales and then drive back to the northeast.
Oh my goodness me!
But
but you've
got to do what you've got to do
on the road. Yeah, but it's a fantastic project, and you get to see some really, really interesting stuff. I think it's great. So on the commercial side, what are people coming to you for commercially? Obviously, that Teesside job's an example of commercial work. But what other sort of projects are you working on?
We've just completed a job for Mechtool in Darlington.
Yes.
We've just completed. That was a brand new build. We didn't build it. We did all the electrical and mechanical in that one.
Yeah.
And that one had 20 kilowatts of PV on it. No battery storage. From everything from the LED lighting down to the office work.
Yeah.
What they need in the office. For the machinery, they had some high spec machineries and ovens in there for what they make. They've got like an MOD contract. So yeah, it varies on the commercial side. It can vary from just something like
car
just
charger.
as a car charger, commercial car charging ports, or PV, or machinery installations.
So
It
that
can vary so much.
They've got a piece of kit.
Yeah.
They go, they open the instructions day one, and then they realise they need a qualified electrician
Absolutely.
to what sort of stuff is that requiring? Is it requiring circuits set up for it? I don't understand.
Yeah, so we've got to do a design. So depending on how far away from the fuse board that machine's going to be, we've got to do calculations to make sure the cable's the right size for that length of run. Because we have a thing called volt.
You never think of these things, do you?
Meanwhile, me and you,
Yeah.
daisy chain.
Just for the record, I do not daisy chain.
I don't know.
So there's so many factors that you've got to sort of. It's not just turn up and wire it in. It's you've got to have a bit of preparation beforehand.
There's a lot of numbers involved. People wouldn't necessarily think it as such because they see the wires. They imagine cable cutters, cutting the wires, wiring a plug, putting wires around the house or whatever. Jobs are good.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of maths obviously that goes in.
There is a lot of maths, a lot of equations, a lot of calculations.
Yeah. So so the longer the wire is, obviously, the weaker the
So the longer the cable is, the more volt drop you're going to get. So we have to start increasing the size of the cable depending on what the machines.
So that's
what the
anticipating
machines
the
pull
drop.
in. Yeah.
Okay. Simple question
And the
before we
current
go.
carrying capacity of
So
it.
volt and amps. Tell me what they are, please. I know they exist.
And amps what you plug your guitar into.
Yeah, no, I don't have a guitar. So voltage, you've touched on it there.
Voltage, so there's like a couple of ranges of voltage. Standard in a house is 230.
Yeah, I've seen that on my
And then
plugs.
once you start going into the commercial side of things, like standard factories, you're looking at 415. And then depending on certain factories, they've got, even we've just started doing some work for Northern Power Grid. National Grid.
Yeah.
On some of their sites, and they're touching, on certain sites they were at, I think it was 200 kV, 200,000 volts. 400, some of the sites at
Goodness
400,000 volts.
Not letting you in there, Andy.
120,000 volts, depending on which substation you're working at.
Maths is quite important.
It is quite important.
Yeah.
Can I ask, have you ever gone to a commercial site where a machine or whatever it is, Dan, and you've literally gone, there's not enough power in this site? Like, what have you managed? Have you had to go and go, we need more voltage in?
I've never come across
so
that. Sometimes, a lot of the times, these big factories have got their own substations within the factory. So some of them will have like 400 kVA there.
Just a question for me, obviously, as I say, we all live in the manor. A substation is what? It's obviously just getting fed normal electricity, but does that boost it?
So basically, they've got they're called their own transformers.
Right.
So, it's hard to put this out. So, you don't have a substation coming into your property.
No.
You've just got a cable coming in, and you've got a fuse, which you're limited to probably about 80 or 100 amps.
Right.
Whereas these guys, because they've got using big cranes and big machinery, heavy duty gear, they need a lot more voltage and amps,
right,
compared to any other person. So
yeah,
they've got their own transformer within the building that they've got. And I'll say like 200 kVA or 400 kVA, and then that's
so that builds the power,
boosts the power a bit.
So Northern Power Grid and the client would have had an agreement in place, like, what machinery are you putting in here, what do you need?
Yeah.
And they tell them what they're going to be using. So if they're over a certain amount, they'll put their own transformer in there. That'll carry that. That particular.
So much
amount.
to it behind the scenes.
Yeah, a lot.
Because I've never.
We don't deal with that side of things because that's.
No, I get that.
Yeah, but I've seen cranes, and I never thought, someone could trip over the wire and unplug the crane. like that's not going to happen,
No, it's
right?
not going to happen.
I was like, I've never. Yeah. Oh man.
But it is interesting as a young lad when I was driving around to my first job, Sillick. You do drive into an industrial estate, and usually within the industrial estate there always is a huge substation because that's feeding the whole of that.
Feeding the whole estate.
Yeah, and again, huge signs on it saying, do not come within 10 metres of this.
Yeah, so some factories will actually have that inside their factory.
Oh, my goodness me. Wow.
That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Because you don't
I
realise,
see
do you?
substations all the time so when I'm doing the drone flights, I have to do all the risk assessment and everything else. But on the Drone Assist app that I use, it also highlights substations.
Yeah.
Because obviously electrical interference, lots of
Absolutely.
you need to make sure with the radio signals you're not stood with a substation between you and the drone. It's not going to work very well.
Nope.
So you're always looking at that, but it's amazing when you actually go on the app. Like you see all the various this, that, and the other. But if you look at the infrastructure, there's more than you realise because they can be just in a little shed. Some of them can't they? With a little tin roof on and stuff like this. So it's amazing logistics, and then tying in the back of it. It blows my mind in terms of the infrastructure that goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, a huge amount, and then they obviously come in the back of it. What are you doing the most of with homes at the moment then?
PV. Solar PV,
Yeah.
Powering by the sun.
Yeah.
Are people going for batteries?
A lot of people, yeah. So we're doing a scheme at the minute. We're on like a government-funded scheme.
Yeah.
And they get X amount of panels funded by the government with an inverter, and then everything after that's additional. So if they want to go down the battery storage route,
they can do that.
They can do that, yeah.
Yeah. So we had a power cut the other week.
Yeah.
We seem to have more power cuts at the moment.
Is this at home?
Yeah.
Did somebody
the village,
trip
not
over?
just my
Did
electric.
somebody trip over the villages?
The villagers plug. Yeah, no, we've had a few, and I was like, find a battery right now.
Yeah.
But it obviously opens the door to tariffs and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I've heard of the idea that obviously people are charging the electric cars. Are they looking in the future to potentially use that as a source that feeds back into the grid? Is that a thing yet now, or is that something that's coming in, or am I making it up?
Feed the grid from the solar?
Yeah, well, you can feed the grid from the solar, I know that, but I heard the idea that you obviously charge your car, you've got a battery sat there, and then the idea is the grid could tap into the different cars on the network. Is that a thing yet, or not? Or am I making it up? I'm sure someone talked to me about it.
I'm not too sure.
I'm not aware.
Yeah, there you are. So you've made it up.
I've made it up.
Okay.
There's an idea.
There's an idea,
I'm not
everybody.
too sure on that one.
Yeah, no, the idea was it's always when the football's on, they always say about
exactly.
everyone turning the kettles on, they got to open the dam in Wales or something. The reservoir in Wales to
Exactly.
to heat
I
the
want to
kettles.
touch on, because obviously you are, God bless you, you're one of my customers. I want to touch on tech. How has technology changed? Obviously, I've transformed you with the use of Teams.
You have indeed.
If I can't have drowned it in electric...
Shut up. I've transformed you. But yeah, in terms of tech, Dan, how have you seen it? In the old days, it must have just been pen and paper.
Yeah, so it was, It was horrendous, to be honest.
Is it that book that you see on the front dash of a van?
Yes.
That if that
And
book
all
goes
the-
missing, you're scuppered.
And like the sheet of paperwork that are all
Oh,
sticking
yes.
around,
I've seen your
you know.
vans. But that must have changed.
It's massively, yeah. So we technically now just work off like our iPads or phone.
Yeah.
It's not so much a pen and paper diary anymore.
No.
Probably actually like yourself, to be fair. But since having Teams integrated into the business, especially for the projects that we're doing for the solar PV installs, like what a difference that's made. Like unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things. Obviously, Dan came to see me, James, and like, can you help us? We're just drowning in
Yeah, we
paperwork.
were drowning in paperwork for the sake of like per one survey, we were maybe five sheets of paper.
Yeah.
And then we had to scan that, we had to upload that. Now it's just I can just do it all
So
on the
you're doing
app.
Teams forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music to my ears. It's great,
Amazing.
isn't it? It's fantastic.
Unbelievable. It was a game changer for us,
Yeah,
to be honest.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
And saves so much time.
Yeah, but I think you were saying, and obviously with respect, it was like, you need to work smarter, not harder. You've got more and more people. How many, sorry, I'm sidetracked, but how many people work for Facility 6 now?
We're at 6 at the minute.
And that's grown since I've known you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really has grown. And obviously you've got subcontractors, really good lads in terms of what they're
great.
doing. Yeah, it's great
Really
lads.
friendly.
But obviously, as you were saying, you and James were saying, it's just like, I seem to be tied to my desk, Andy, just doing paperwork.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, but now that we've got you on the phones and the Teams and the forms and stuff like that, I hardly bloody see you in the office.
Well, this is it. So I can work a lot remote now.
Yeah.
So if I'm stuck on site, I can just fire the laptop up on site. I've got Teams there. I've got Teams on my phone. I can just do everything, upload the photos to it.
Yeah.
I can do all of it.
Yeah, it's really good. I've also done the Teams sharing with the collaboration, and obviously that was from another customer. And again, even though it was painful at the start, I don't mind telling you, but their customer and Facility 6 just love it now. Where again, I keep saying single pane of glass. You upload the document into Teams, and the customer's like, "Thank you, I've got it."
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing it, and there's so many good things that you can do with Teams. We're using there's a Shifts app.
Yeah.
So the team.
This is good,
Clock
mate.
in and clock out. They've got to have a Teams account, obviously a 365 account. Okay. They can clock in and clock out using Teams. So I've saved myself £20 a month for a timesheeting system.
Yeah.
I need records. I mean, obviously they're working like the same hours every month unless we do overtime. But yeah, so you can use that. You just go into Teams, clock in, clock out. And I can also request I'm getting to grips with it still.
Yeah.
There's one where I think it's like equipped so you can like go, hey, I've got a shift here. Do you want the shift? I'm like, that's not how we work. Everyone's in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so been using that. The bookings app. So availability. So do you know when someone's like, oh, could you meet with us? When can you do?
Yeah.
You send them a booking link.
And they just book your calendar.
And it syncs with your calendar. That's
good.
So you should get
it really is, yeah.
Because it's minimised my email traffic. So people might go, it's just you playing with gizmos. I'm like, no, it's really like reducing email traffic, reducing the amount of time. Because it's like, you got to look at your diary and go, right, I can do 11 or 3 or this or that. And then you go, right, what can you do? And they go, I actually can't do that Tuesday. What about the Thursday? And then you're like, right, hang on a minute. Whereas if you just go, there's my diary, and they can't see the details of what you're doing elsewhere.
Just see the open spaces,
the open
right?
slots, and you can put in.
Good,
I've got 4 meeting types.
Yes, I have.
30-minute teams, an hour teams, and there's like 15-minute buffers around that. And then I've got 30-minute in person and an hour in person.
I had to increase mine the other day. 3-hour Teams meeting. That's because I'm doing an onboarding for some automation that I'm doing. And I was like, I have to create a 3 hours for this. 2 hours wasn't
So you just say to them, book a 3-hour onboarding meeting.
Yeah.
And away we go, and they get the link.
And that's the benefit. You just send them it and just go, book my diary. And it comes in and goes, Dan's booked your calendar for next week for 3 hours.
Because they can then go, you've reduced my email. It's a two-way street, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
So Teams has been a really good thing. So
you have to introduce me to this.
That'll be
that's the next thing. That's the next thing.
But people don't realise, because I think that's the issue with a lot of technology that we use. You only use so much of it. Like with electrics, you only see the plug in the wall. And you don't know what's behind the wall, like I was saying.
Yeah.
It's the same with IT and
I'm sorry?
Right, I haven't got the kids, I promise.
My kids are next door playing Minecraft, and one has blatantly just hit the other one. I'm going to have to go deal with that a second. Excuse me.
We'll carry on. That was great. That was absolutely great. There's live. So, in terms of what you've seen, where you are today, Dan, what does the future hold for Facility 6? Is it just like an open door, or do you feel as though you want to get into other things?
Yeah, we're constantly growing.
Yeah.
I think, as a business, if you're not constantly growing, then you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're always looking at new avenues to go down,
right?
Especially in the energy sector, because that's just a massive sector at the minute.
Yes.
With obviously the prices of bills and stuff like that. So we're always thriving to do better and become a larger company.
Yeah. So the plan is to grow?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, to keep on growing and growing, because obviously the market's out there. You've obviously made a lot of good inroads, trusted
the market
people.
is out there, and you've got to grow.
Constantly
you have to think about growing.
Yeah, I think everybody says that, and it's not a cliche at all, Dan. But I think companies that do stay, I'm happy where I am. I'm like, well, you're just going to go stagnant, and eventually somebody will go, well, actually, I know what you do for me, but this company does that and more.
They're overtaking you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you've got to be constant. Absolutely. So the idea is to grow. The idea is to go. Do you feel what do you feel is the next thing? Here he comes. And what was that all about?
So it's half-term week for us.
Yes.
And I'm off after this. I'm heading off. I'm doing stuff.
Lazy.
Some work from home remotely.
Right. Sorry.
These are my team's late times, but we're going to go out and do a few things. So we're about to do that. They've got a Nintendo. I love technology. Nintendo Switch next door. We've got Minecraft on, FIFA, Smash Bros.
Love it.
Mario Kart.
Love it.
Yet they're still fighting.
Yet they're still fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. In my day. So there we go. Sorry about that. But unusual.
In your day, you had a spinning top.
Playing Kirby.
Exactly. Game Boy. Lovely.
Yeah,
We were just
okay.
saying about how Facility 6 are growing, and what I was just asking there is that obviously in terms of where Facility 6 has come from, Adam, they've obviously gone into, chargeables, rechargeables,
Yes.
solar, and I was just saying it down. So what do you feel is the next step? You may not know, my friend, but what do you feel is going to happen?
That's very hard.
Yeah?
Very hard. I don't know.
Don't know.
I think
It's-
I'm seeing. So there's a bit of a battle at the moment against when you see a farm installing solar all over the fields. Everyone's going,
Yeah.
"Don't put it on land." I get that. I
Yeah.
completely understand. Farmers are trying to diversify as well. Everyone's under pressure, and we're seeing a lot. The way I see it is there is a hell of a lot of houses you need to rewire.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
There is obviously the solar boom, I think it's fair to say at the moment.
Absolutely.
Obviously, people putting in farms, but I think it'd be good. Not that farmers can't put solar in the field if that's
exactly.
what they want. That they do that, but it's all about. I understand the environmental side of it and the food production side of it.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good to see a project. People are going to put them on top of multi-stories, put them on top of shops.
Yeah. Absolutely.
A lot of supermarkets, I believe, have those.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what I could see, huge development in terms of how they're doing, along with the efficiency in solar, because solar's really massively improved over the last 7 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when we started back in 2010, 12, the panels then were putting out, I think it was 200 watts, around 200 watts, 220 watts.
Okay.
Now I'm installing them at 440 watts per panel.
Yeah.
Doubled.
So like doubled in, and
Yeah.
they go higher than that.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
They go
yeah.
higher
yeah.
than that, yeah.
So
He's interesting. Is there anything solar on here within Darlington Business?
There is.
Ah,
There is.
Yeah,
so
I've seen them
yeah.
actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've been on the roof, believe it or not.
did you jump?
Nope.
Okay.
I was No, I've
So
seen
solar is a part
Solar's
of
on
this.
here, yeah. Like yourself, I've been up there a couple of times when I've been doing a bit of work here. But
Right.
But yeah, they should now have them on all.
Yes.
It's dead space technically.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, as
Yeah.
long as the roof's sound, there's no water ingress and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bit of
then-
weight to a panel.
Oh God, I was with Dan
just-
from DMH, the other week, and he was showing me the latest size of ones, and oh my gosh, they're heavy.
Yeah.
But he did say, he echoed what you said.
20 kilos each.
Yeah, but he echoed what you said. He said back in the day, he went,
Yeah.
this is like almost 3 times as powerful as the ones that I was
Yeah.
originally using.
Yeah.
So we're getting cleverer and cleverer.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but what we've got to do is, although you're saying they're heavy, we've got to do structural calculations to make sure
Yeah.
the
Gosh, I
roof,
never even
the
thought
roof
of
can
that.
take the extra load.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the brackets.
So
and
once
everything.
we start putting on a domestic system, we're potentially adding, say, another 180 kilos to the house, to the roof, potentially just on one side as well. So we've got to do structural calculations for that. Again,
Yeah, because
more-
obviously in
more
terms of the
mathematics.
roof, more mathematics.
Yeah, lots of mathematics.
Yeah.
That will really.
Well, you don't want to stick them on and someone else my roof.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
again, you must have that. Oh, goodness me! Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew there was so much involved?
There is.
There is. That's just great.
I've really enjoyed that.
That's
I even
deep
just
dive.
getting down to the basics of like why people don't daisy chain your plugs, people. I think that's
Don't do it.
I think that's probably and all businesses should be pat testing.
Yeah.
That's another thing people should be doing. It's like simple basics. We talk,
Absolutely
we often reiterate these core messages about doing things properly, making sure it just takes a little bit of time to sort out and this, that, and the other. And
Well, it's
always
just
worth it.
for me. It's just a risk. It's just as I say, it's the age old. I've never had a problem, Andy. 5 years they've been daisy chained, and I'm like, I know, but as we all know, new technology is like drawing more power. Eventually, you will trip those daisy chains, and I just don't think it's worth the risk at all.
No, we've just been doing some work on a farm. Again, it was a PV install, but once we do the install, we need to certify this work.
Yep.
So we couldn't find out where this actual cottage was powered from. It didn't have its own. They were saying it comes off the farm meter. So we tried to trace this cable back, couldn't find it. And yes, it was in the top of the incoming side of another building, but it went out in 2 colours, in one size cable, jointed under the ground somewhere, come into the building in like a smaller cable. But just
But the owners wouldn't know, would they?
They didn't
like
know.
you wouldn't know
No,
because
he
you're
said-
like, I just
he said
electric comes in.
Again, he said he'd been like that for like 20 years.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, it's fine." I said, "It's not. I need to change this. You can't do this.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
you can't run it like this." And anyways, we've had to sort it out in the end.
No,
But,
exactly. But, you know, and it is a balance, isn't it?
The thing of it's been like that for years. It's fine.
Yeah.
I get that all the time, you know, and it's like why people don't like change because I'm like, I've done this way for everything.
Yeah,
you know, it's the way that I do. But nowadays, you have got to take into account that whole risk. And I'm a great believer in doing that because it's like anything, and I've just mentioned earlier about the insurance. You know, it's been like that for years, Andy. Fire breaks out, insurance comes along and goes, no, sorry. You know, and what would it have, you know, not the cost of that at the time, but you're like, you should have done it. It's like been
but
that
if
for
you
years,
did,
Andy.
you could potentially avoid that situation.
You
right?
can do, and
So before we go on to our last question, which is weekend related, behind that TV over there, Andy, I've just remembered, is now a Raspberry Pi. Following on from, have you heard of a Raspberry Pi computer?
it's the beast.
what's this?
Brilliant. Let me grab it.
Let you grab it.
Pad Andy.
Yes. So basically, what a Raspberry Pi is, I was oddly enough, I was doing with younger, better looking Adam. Is a customer wanted to run a slideshow on the big TV, funnily enough, like this.
Okay.
So they were just wanting. So think about all the stuff that you do for your customers. Lots and lots of lovely pictures. They wanted to run the slideshow, but they didn't want to pay for a huge computer. A Raspberry Pi is like 150 quid. You plug it in. That's the size of it. And it just basically runs Raspberry. It runs a Raspberry OS. And the great news is, what we did for this customer is we linked it up to their laptop. And what they do is they drop the pictures into what they class a folder on their desktop, which is actually a folder on the Raspberry Pi, Dan. And then the screen just goes, I'll just display everything.
We plug a USB in for our artwork here.
Yeah.
That TV only lets you record to the USB. It doesn't let you put artwork up on like a slideshow.
Yeah.
So Raspberry Pi computer, small computer, command strip on the back. It runs off USB-C power. And you can set it to like automatically load. We've just got a mouse tucked behind the screen. USB in there. Jobs are good.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and then we just update the USB. Pick slideshow. So I said I was going to do that on the last episode. I've done it.
It's amazing, honestly. For 150 quid, you're just like, this is incredible
That was,
stuff.
for that case, it's the one without the fans because I was like, we won't need
You
the
don't
fans.
need that, yeah.
£100 all in with the cases and stuff.
The reason that I did the
isn't it?
fans on the case is that this customer's like, they're running 24/7. So I was like, no, again, risk. I'm like, you don't want to overheat this thing. So for the extra 50
Whereas
quid,
we just power that on when
you need
we
it.
use
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But fantastic piece of kit.
So practicing what we preach.
Yeah, very
That's what
good.
we talked about in the last episode. So
Well done, my friend. Congratulations
go.
for that. So we always end the episode, Dan, with what are you doing for the weekend, sir?
So after here, I'm going to the lakes with my wife.
Do you know what?
for the
You're
weekend.
disappearing. I'm stuck in this office.
The weather's
Not this
beautiful, so we've got to make the
It is
most
nice
of
at
it.
the moment. Yeah, it's lovely. Where are you going in the lakes?
We're going to Grasmere.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
So that's you, the family, all 5 kids?
No, just me and the wife.
Oh, hey.
Palmed the kids off onto the grandparents.
Have you?
and
Get
we're going out.
in. Well done, you.
Couple of nice walks in the sunshine.
Yeah, too right.
Relaxing.
You going up
Few-
Helvellyn? And any of that?
If the wife wants to. I'm doing what I'm told this week.
Oh, no,
Well
you're
done,
Grasmere,
well done,
aren't
sir.
you? So not
That's
bad.
the right thing to do.
Langdale's over the way. Oh, I love it.
Ah, yeah,
Brilliant.
fabulous idea.
Yeah, I'm off to Northumberland on Sunday.
Oh, what are you doing there, sir?
Yeah. I got a week away in the caravan. So first caravan trip.
What's happening next Friday?
Good Friday.
Oh, right. Yeah. No podcast.
I had that answered prepped.
No podcast. I get a week off.
I mean, if you want to come in and do it on your own, Alina won't be here.
No, I'll just be talking to myself, non-recorded.
Nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing.
So that's Sunday, but obviously we'll be getting ready to
Oh,
go
nice,
before
my
that,
friend. So again, is that with the whole family, all your kids and
Yep.
Corey?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, are the kids coming now that you've...
They've gone very quiet this time. I haven't killed them, I promise.
You promised?
yeah. So we're going to...
Did you just do the dad look?
Yeah, well, no, that doesn't work. So I've just said to them, come on, lads, we sort it out. And then we're going to go and we've got various bits to sort out. So it's a caravan, we got it off my mum and dad when they got a new caravan last year, but we didn't have a chance to use it last year. So
Yeah, of course.
I am towing a caravan. So
Oh,
do not be on the
my
roads
God.
between here and Northumberland.
Oh, well, that'd be nice, though. And I think is
You're going to
Good
practice
Friday
your
next week.
reversing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I used to work as a labourer in New Zealand when I was over there.
You said
and
that,
I had
yeah.
to drive trailers all the time.
Yeah.
And they were like, Right, reverse it. So I kind of learned, I mean, it's been years, but I did learn, I could reverse those trains because I was going down to get stone, gravel, fill, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Also the dump and stuff. So I had no choice. So I had to figure it out. But it's been a while since I've reversed. So
Goodness me, yeah.
I might pop to a local car park to go beforehand. I'm sure I'll pick it up again. It's when double axles are fine. It's the single axles because the flip round so quick.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Been a while.
I will have a go.
But that's nice. So you're travelling.
Hopefully I can tap back into
You're travelling Sunday to go down, yeah, and then spending all week there, and then back next week.
We're coming back on the Saturday. We thought we'd avoid the bank holiday traffic and this, that, and the other. We thought we'd come back
Because it's Good Friday the next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we have a week back at work, and then isn't it a bank holiday Monday?
The May
Bank holiday, I think, something like that.
Something like
So
that.
I know it's 2 weeks in a row where we get 4 days.
Yeah, I know, because I had my staff going, do we get bank holidays? I'm like, no. I was like, yes, you do.
I was like,
yeah, so there we go.
oh, well, very
But yeah,
good.
what are you doing this weekend?
Absolutely nothing.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
You've been very
honestly,
busy there.
I have been silly busy recently.
Wearing tuxedos and going to events and all sorts.
Definitely. So we're doing that. So actually a week off. I know we're going around friends on Saturday night, so we're staying over and having a nice meal over there. So that'll be very nice. But yeah, generally just chilling out. It's been hectic couple of weekends. So we're actually going to do
Replenish the batteries.
I'll put myself in the sun.
Very good.
I'll put myself in the sun. Recharge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. There,
Well,
very good. Dan, thank you very much for doing that, my friend.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
very
really
good.
enjoyed that chat. It's
Yeah, I
been great.
really did. It's been excellent stuff.
Yeah. See you in the next episode, people.
Not next Friday, because we will be here.
Andy might be.
See you later. Bye.